Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Details. Today we're going to be talking about maternity leave, the struggles women go through returning to work and things like that. Because we're talking about this topic and I have no children, we have brought in mother
Yasmin
Lamis. So this is my sister. She's an osteopath. Gave birth 6 months ago. If you haven't watched her birth story, go back and do that. So she's going to be telling us how it really is. Do you want to maybe get us started?
All right, so I guess first question to start off, Lamise, how much maternal leave do you get?
So in Australia, the minimum that we get is about 14 weeks paid leave at minimum wage, which is roughly, well, if you're a full-time worker, it's about $700-ish a week. So that's the minimum wage for a full-time job in Australia, spread over 16 weeks, 16 weeks, which isn't really that much time.
Really isn't that much. No. So if we start and look at Iceland, Iceland get 39 weeks of parental leave, right? And the way it works is 13 weeks is for the husband, 13 weeks is for the wife.
Okay.
And the remainder 13 can be allocated however you want. You can give it all to the wife. You can give 6, 7, husband, wife. So the way it works is it's 80% of their salary.
Damn, Europeans be progressive.
For 39 weeks.
Far out.
That's crazy.
And I like the fact that it can either be mum or dad, because in some families, the mum might earn more, you know.
And, you know, like when we were searching like which countries have the best maternity leave, all of them are in Europe.
Yeah. Finland, Iceland, Germany. Insane.
And another fun fact, Australia only started giving paid partner leave or paid,
paternity leave.
Yeah, in 2013. How delayed?
Do better. Dad never took time off with Alara and Adam.
Yeah, it'd have to be like annual leave or something like that, which is
sad.
Well, I will say that if you have a partner who is like the primary income earner and both of you are on leave, that $750 each is actually not enough.
No.
Yeah.
It's like, Badab didn't even take paternity leave because he was like, it's not like, he goes, it's not going to cut it, babes. And he just took annual leave, yeah.
And then if we look at Germany is crazy. Germany gets parental leave of 24 months or 26 months. So 2 years of parental leave, right?
Damn.
And I know it's up to 12 months is about 67% of their actual salary.
That is really impressive.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. Crazy.
Germany, man.
Killing it.
Doing things.
Australia's really bogus. I will also say that I think we found that based on the WHO recommendations, Australia actually does the bare minimum for the international requirements. Like I think 14 weeks is like the bare, and they give us 16.
Yeah.
So it's
very sad.
Yeah, so now I guess the question is, all right, we've kind of figured out that maybe maternity leave isn't adequate. It's not enough.
No.
And the only other option mums that want to go back to work really have is childcare, which in Australia is very, very expensive.
Man.
Yeah, it's about $120 a day.
Let me get into this, all right? Average a day is, you are right, it's around $115 on average. If you extrapolate that for a full-time person who needs to do like childcare for full-time for a year, it's about $28,000 before government subsidy. So let's not panic, yeah? Now, the way the government subsidy works is if you're in a household, wife, husband, that earns 70K, so 35K each, you will get 85% subsidized.
Okay.
Amazing, right?
Pretty good.
However, if you earn about 80K each, so like 170K-ish, you'll get 50% subsidized. So the more you earn, the less you get subsidized.
Okay.
And like what he'd mentioned, it's about $28,000 a year before government subsidies. And the median wage in Australia is $72,000. So it's about like a third of your pay goes to childcare.
Damn.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up. The average Australian salary is about 99K, but the median is 72. So what that means is 50% of Australians earn less than 72 and 50% earn more than 72. The reason why it's 99 is it's because so skewed. Like some people earn like 350K and they skew the average, right? Yeah. So if we know the median's around 72, and with the government subsidy saying around 50% for those who earn like 175 collectively, you're paying basically after government subsidy an amount of about 14,000, 12,000, 13,000.
That is a lot of money.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, that's like more than $1,000 a month. So it's like paying rent or like a mortgage.
Huge.
That's like slightly less than a mortgage. Slightly less.
That's insane. Like at that point, I think like what I was going through was like, is it even worth it? Like, all right, there's the monetary aspect, but there's also the stress, the guilt, the like headache of dealing with that. And then on top of that, also working. Like,
yeah,
it's just crazy.
I think that's why a lot of women, when they do end up going back to work, quite a large chunk of them actually go back as part-time or casual and not full-time.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. But yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of women, I guess, hesitate to go back to work because, you know, how are they going to cope with all these extra responsibilities they have, feeling guilty about leaving their child in someone else's care. And of course, no one is going to look after your child better than you do.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, there is a lot of guilt. And I think like I'm not going back to the hours I initially did. Like, number one, it's not worth it from a financial standpoint for me to go back to work and pay that much in childcare. But the reason I do want to go back, it's like, oh, well, I studied this whole time. Like, I owe it to myself. And I know I'm not going to be the mother of a baby forever. So I need to have something to go back to. But yeah, I don't know. It's not worth it.
I was going to say, it's seriously crazy to think that if you have a mum who can support you and like have time to take care of your child, you're saving literally like 12 grand.
Yeah, it's insane.
So about a quarter of women in Australia go back to work by the time their baby is 3 months old. And then the other quarter goes back when their child is 10 months old. I don't know about the other half, but that's
somewhere in between or afterwards.
Yeah.
I think there is also a chunk that just don't end up going back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what? I can kind of understand why, like, because it's so hard. Like, you know, one thing that freaked me out when I had Yasmin was like, okay, you had this baby, but the world's still
it's still going.
It's still going. Like, you know, your housework doesn't stop. Work doesn't stop. Bills don't stop coming in just because you had this child. And like, as much, you know, when we say being a mum is hard, I always say it's not Yasmin that's hard. Like, it's not my baby. It's like the fact that there's everything else is still happening. And now you have to adjust around this child, you know, and then that concept of like, it takes a village doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there's help and yes, we have family, but it's like our parents work and they like, it's not the same. Like,
definitely.
So that's the thing. It's like the world's still going. Like, and how do you adjust? It's I guess so difficult.
Another thing is like, okay, you go back to work a year later, maybe you want to have another kid.
Yeah.
So that they're close in age. So it's kind of like, all right, pause in my career, go back to work, another pause in my career. And it's just like,
it's so hard. And then, you know, it's hard because in terms of like our household responsibilities, it doesn't, and you know, you can say that you and your husband share responsibilities as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like, it's been instilled in us for so long that women are the primary caretakers of the children and of the home. So how much can your partner really do when this is just being ingrained in us for centuries and centuries? Like, yes, there's progress, but we haven't caught up with like the progress that we've made within the workforce. So women are just really just doing double the work with like less help. You know, it really is a double-edged sword, I think.
That's why people take as much paid leave as they can, and then some people take an extra year leave of unpaid. And then they, I guess, try to fit 2 childbirths in that period, and then they can come back to
and
work.
Like, how can you have it all? Like, you know, people's like, oh, do you want it all? Do you want it all? Like, but, you know, and the other, remember the study that we found? So if they looked at men with senior positions in companies in America, and 2/3 of them had children, so a large quantity of them were family men. And when they looked at women who also had senior roles, only 1/3 of them had children. So there's almost like that, well, you've got to choose. Do you want to be a mother, or do you want to have a career? And then if you have both, one of them's got to be compromised. So that's almost how it feels. This is just all my opinion. That's what it feels like. You've got to make that choice between like the two of them. Like, one's got to give.
All right. So speaking of this divide of like women in the workplace and things like that. Okay, so the University of Sydney, this is Australian statistics, surveyed 4,000 women and found that 26% of these women who went on maternity leave in Australia believed that their opportunities and work progression were worse than before they gave birth, while 9% only thought that they had improved.
Yeah, I can see.
A whole quarter, that's a lot.
I can see why.
And then there was another study, same sort of thing. It was like a survey, and it showed that 48% of new mothers said that they were not considered for promotions because they had children. Research suggests that women who take advantage of a longer maternity leave have fewer chances of being promoted or getting hired for new jobs once they return to work, while women who take shorter leave are considered to be bad mothers. So it's like,
so it's again
You
that
can't even win.
that war of like what gives, like am I a career woman or am I a mother? Like it's
you can't be both.
you can't be both
Like,
almost.
There's always going to be people judging you and having an opinion on what you do, and it's just
Yeah, I was when I was researching this, I was like reading some of the comments on like a few videos on podcasts, and people would say things like, oh, what's the point of having kids if someone else is going to raise them? But then in the same regard, if you're a stay-at-home mum, it's like, well, get off your bum.
Well,
and contribute, like, far out.
It's the same thing as taking them to childcare. Someone else is pretty much raising them during that 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
That's what she's saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what people are, like, that's the argument. So,
and then like she's saying, like, if you are staying at home and just looking after your kid, they're like, oh my god, go get a job. Like, staying,
you know,
they'll hate either way.
Yeah,
You just
like
can't win.
being an at-home mum isn't a job.
you know what? People love you when you're pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
And then when you have the child, no one is doing anything to accommodate.
People are judgy as hell.
Yeah, to you, like, you know, raising this child, like, it's it's really, really difficult.
I feel like when you were pregnant, so many people were like, let me know if you need anything, and now it's like, where are you now?
Where you at? Like, hey, do you want to watch my child?
But you know, while I was like, you know, having a look and things like that, I found this statistic, and this one like upset me because I was like so shocked. But Harvard Business Review, said that women are 50% less likely to be called for an interview if their resume has a career break because of childcare or having a child, compared to if they had a career break because they were fired.
Well, I think there's this connotation of like, you know, if you're a mum, obviously your kids are a priority. So,
or like you're going to want another kid, or you're going to want like flexible hours.
Take more maternity leave.
Yeah, I mean, it isn't, there's really no support, and there's no legislation to protect that either. So it just puts mums in a really vulnerable situation. Like, you know, the government wants women to go back to work, and there's all these incentives, and obviously it benefits the economy. But like, what are you doing to actually secure them in the workplace and make their workplace like accepting of their role as mothers as well? It's pretty crap. And then, like I said, there's still that divide between like mums and dads, like in terms of their caretaking responsibilities. Like, I think if that balances out, then, you know, the workplace will soon follow. But how long is that going to take to make progress?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
This whole divide in the workplace because of women having kids is such a, like, it has such a huge impact on the age that women are having kids at. So a quarter of women in Australia who give birth are 35 years old or older.
Damn.
That's crazy.
And like, that's technically considered like geriatric birth. Like, if you go into the hospital and you're over 35.
There are risk factors to having kids at an older age, but at the same time, women who are older, I guess, are more secure in their job. They have a higher salary. They probably, like, I don't know, own their own home. They're less likely to smoke and things like that during their pregnancy compared to like younger mothers. And since 1999, the number of women giving birth at 40 to 44 years old has doubled in Australia.
Things are just getting more expensive. Like,
it is. Australia's a very expensive place to live. And I will say that when I was 23 when I was pregnant, and a lot of the time in hospital, like, one of the first things they would ask me, like when the midwives would meet me for my appointments, was this planned? How old's your husband? God. Like, almost like I was like a teen mum, because I was like quite young compared to
what they're used to.
Just
what they're used to.
The fact that they're asking you.
And I will say, I always like whenever someone would get pregnant young, like around 23 when I got pregnant, I'd be like, oh my God, why is she getting pregnant so young? And I was like, no, I'll have kids in my 30s. Like, the same reason. Like, I want to be secure in my job. I want to have like a practice. I want to do this, that. Because again, like, I felt like I had to choose between the two.
The average age of first-time mothers used to be 27 as at 2009, whereas now it's 31. So it's jumped 4 years.
In America, it's jumped up much higher. I don't have the numbers, but it was like insane. Like, it was like crazy high.
Wow.
And in America, they've got really crappy maternity leave as well.
Yeah,
so
not just maternity leave, but like sexual health and like education. Like, there's so many teen pregnancies compared to Australia.
Well, America's very conservative, I think, compared to us as well. Like, Australia's very secular.
And another thing I wanted to mention about like older mothers is a huge amount of them go through the private sector, like with hospitals and stuff. And I think more than half of them, about 60 or 70%, have to have a cesarean section.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I continued with my investigation, and so thousands of women were interviewed about their careers and things like that, and why they were putting off having kids. And the number one leading reason for delaying kids was money. 60% of the participants reported that they're delaying kids because they don't have enough money, and 51% because they want to have a higher salary before they have their first child.
Two things, right? Australia is just getting expensive by the day. House prices are just skyrocketing. It's insane, right? And second thing, it seems like a lot of women want to establish themselves first in their careers. Like they want to be like, where do I want to be before I have to like give all my time to children?
Yeah.
I want to get there first and then I want to have children.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing a huge just increase in the average age.
And this again, like it's like that same rhetoric, like we need to find a way to let that happen simultaneously because it's not good for anyone.
But it's not just like, okay, she wants a career and then she'll have kids. It's like, okay, I want a career. I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, I want a nice car. I want a house. I want, you know, all these
Well, it's
things.
almost like this, and I believed it too. Like, I will not have a life if I have a child. If I have a child, my life is over. And, you know, I believe that like your blessings come regardless. So like we didn't have a home before we had Yasmin. Now we do. Like we didn't travel much, but we will like later on. Like your life isn't over just because you have a child, but there is, and I think it's in the West especially, that this notion that if you have a kid, you don't have a life. And I believed it for so long. Whereas compared to the Middle East, it's the opposite. Like when you have a kid, like that's when your life begins and it's like a beautiful thing. But I can see why so many women know it, because I felt like, okay, once I'm done living and once I want to just give up everything,
being selfish,
that's when I'll have a child. And now I'm kind of realizing, okay, I need to find a way to make it work both ways.
Even the same survey said that 3 out of 5 of the people who responded were willing to delay starting a family until they reached a certain job title or level in their career.
I feel attacked.
So again, like, you know, like they would just have goals that they want before they have children, which fair enough. But there's just so many things. And it's like, okay, let's say the average woman starts her career maybe at like early 20s, 23, right? She wants to build her career. How long does that take? Maybe like 4 or 5 years. Okay, by then she's 28. All right, maybe she wants to travel a bit, you know, whatever. By that time, she's like 31. It's like,
and then like that's not even like, and finding the right person too.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's like, where does it end? You know, and I don't know. It's a whole whirlwind, isn't it?
Yeah. Interesting fact, now that you mentioned it. So in 19 something, can't remember, 1980 or something, in Australia, only 7% of children were born outside of wedlock. And now it's about 40% of children are born outside of wedlock.
Damn.
Very interesting fact. That includes like women who I guess just didn't find anyone and they're like, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to go do like IVF. All right, now Lemise, since you are considering childcare, we're just going to scare you a little bit and tell you all the negatives.
That's all right. Like I still, to be honest, I actually haven't, like, can I just say where I'm at right now? Because this is all like, I'm actually going through all this at the moment. So I graduated uni. I started working. As soon as I started working, COVID happened. I started working in January. I got pregnant in August.
So you worked for about 8 months?
Yeah, pretty much all throughout the pandemic. And then I took time off when I was about 37 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had the chance to like establish my career properly. So I'm like, crap, like I haven't worked enough. Like I spent 5 years at uni. Like I owe it to myself to go back and keep working. But I don't want to leave my baby. I don't feel ready to leave her. Like she is so young. She's so dependent on me. How do I know that they're not going to let her cry? How do I know that they're going to look after her? How can I trust a stranger with my child?
There's that, and there's also like me and you both like sort of in the sciencey career field. It changes so quickly. Science, always new stuff. You have to stay on top of it.
You need your CPD hours.
So guys, for example, someone like Lemise who breastfeeds, right? Going back to work, like you have to pump.
I have to pump, exactly.
You can't just leave it in there. No. Like it has to come out. Otherwise, there's really bad side effects for the mother, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you get mastitis, blocked ducts, and it can negatively affect your breastfeeding journey. And for someone like Yasmin, my baby, she doesn't take a bottle yet. So now like she's 6 months old and I'm like, oh crap, like I have to start teaching her to take a bottle because she's going to go to childcare or maybe go to childcare or stay with her grandma, whatever like our situation ends up being. I have to pump, and that's like an added stress that you have to worry about in the workplace, like on top of everything that you're already doing. You know, now you've got to pump.
Like, use your lunch break to pump.
Yeah, it's like... And honestly, I'd rather just be with her.
Being a breastfeeding mum is so hard, going back to work. And in Australia, legally, your employer has to give you a room to be able to pump in. Otherwise, they can get in big trouble.
I don't think I'm just going to divert a little bit. The struggles of breastfeeding, no one talks about it. Like, breastfeeding is so bloody hard, okay? Like,
you'd think it'd be natural, like you just have the child, boom.
No, it isn't.
An instant connection.
It's hard to establish it as well. Like, it took me like at least 2 months to actually not like cringe every time she latched on because it was just so painful. And then it's like the whole issue with supplies. And then once you're breastfeeding, you also fall into a whole new category of like illnesses that you can have as well and complications. Wow. And then it's like, okay, say like I'm just visualizing like what a work day would look like for me if I was pumping, if I continue to breastfeed for that long, which inshallah I do. So I'd wake up an hour earlier to take her to childcare or to her grandma or whoever, go to work. So I'd have to pack my medical kit, pack my cupping kit, pack my bag for the day, pack a whole pump with me. That's 4 big bags. Okay. And then treat a couple patients, have a break.
It's like you're treating a patient and you just start leaking on them.
Yeah, and it's like, and you have to do it at the exact same time every day and get the exact amount of meals. And then, okay, now you have to like, it's just, and then you have to go home and store it and then sterilize all your products. It's just like a whole big deal. Like, it's not as easy as like put a machine on and just do it. Like, no, it's like it affects you a lot.
All right, so the negatives of childcare now. What do you want to?
Sure. I think, Louise, I reckon you would have considered most of these. They're pretty straightforward. So the first one is exposure to poor behavior from other children. Like, you can't...
Bad habits.
Yeah, literally. You cannot shield your child from what they learn from, like, around them, from other children, right?
Yeah.
And a fun fact, when Lamise first started going to kindergarten, mind you, Lamise did not know any English.
My parents, I was born in Australia, but my parents didn't speak to me in English for the first 3 years of my life.
So she goes to her first day of kindergarten and comes home skipping through the kitchen, basically saying the F word repeatedly over and over. And my mum knows English. Lamise didn't. So my mum's looking at her, she's like, where'd you learn
What
this?
did you just say? Yeah. Let's just say DHHS should have been called that day for the punishment that I copped.
Like, imagine working so hard, investing all your time to get your child right, and then they go childcare or somewhere else, kindergarten, and they learn all this crap.
And then there's also a lot of illnesses that children can get from other kids. So things like head lice.
I used to work at a childcare during uni, and first week there, I got hand, foot, and mouth disease from one of the kids. The worst thing I've ever been through. It's just disgusting.
And coming from like an audiology standpoint, like even in clinic, the amount of kids that are always in because they're like snotty and stuff.
They're so gross.
And it gives them ear infections that are really bad. And especially with kids this young, like they get some of them get ear infections so bad, so they'll get healthy again. And then get it again from another child. And it's like this repeated, okay, like their ears are blocked, they can't hear well. So if you're speaking to them, they're not hearing it as clearly, and it delays their speech and language development as well.
Yeah.
We see it so much, especially in like the winter months and stuff like that.
They're literally put in an environment where like half the children pick their nose and eat it. You know
kids! I did not realize how gross kids were until I worked in childcare. They are the grubbiest, filthiest little aliens you will ever see.
Yeah, so that was the point. They're prone to getting more sick because so much bacteria, viruses, right? And then the last point is just less quality time with their parents. So you need to consider that of obviously 9 to 5 at childcare that could have been with the parent basically.
And also there has actually been a link to increased maternity leave, so like the child having more time with the mum, and like a decreased infant mortality rate as well, which is just goes to show like how much a mum actually looks after her child.
I mean, we're only repopulating the earth, like
just doing the work.
Can we talk about maybe the benefits of childcare?
Childcare is actually really good. It shows your child how to interact with other children, so very social. There's like early education, so like maybe they'll learn shapes or
for
like
schooling,
things like that. Maybe they'll know their letters. They'll I remember, I don't know if it was my kindergarten or my childcare, but once we had like this reptile guy come in, he was like bringing snakes and
It's
crocodiles.
cool activities.
Yeah,
and
like
things.
they keep your child engaged and stimulated and like doing stuff and learning stuff. You know, they're drawing, they're, you know, learning how to cut with scissors. Maybe that's in kindergarten.
No, but it's more of a structured learning environment. And it takes, I guess, some of that educational pressure off of parents as well, which is great. Like, I do think for me, like, if Yasmin was 3 years old, like, without a doubt, I'd be like, yeah, chuck her in, like, get her into pre-kindy. But like when they're so young, like, she's only 6 months, like, she'll be 9 months, about 9 months when I plan on going back to work, and I'm like, she's still a baby. Like, you look at her and she's so tiny. Like, how can I leave her? BRB while I go cry in the bathroom.
All right, guys, let's end it on that note. If you guys want to see more of Lamise, let us know. We're always happy to, you know, interact with her.
And give us topic ideas. Like, did you guys like this whole mum talk? Maybe this can be a thing. I don't know.
And we'll put Lamisa's Instagram along with ours in the description below. So be sure to follow both of us. And
if you do want an osteopathy appointment, join my waitlist as well. Link is in my bio.
Yes. All right, guys. So until next time.
Shalom.
Take
Salam.
care.
Bye.
Peace out.
Peace out.